We were side by side on the couch, the glow from the television casting soft shadows across the living room. His leg brushed against mine every so often, the kind of fleeting contact you almost convince yourself isn't real. It felt accidental at first. Harmless. Then his hand shifted. Not quick, not deliberate, just a slow, hesitant drift of his fingers until they skimmed the outside of my leg. I froze, breath catching, though I didn't move away. And he didn't either. My chest rose sharply with the inhale I couldn't control. What had begun as nothing more than a still evening in a dim room, with a vintage film flickering quietly in the background, was suddenly becoming something I hadn't let myself imagine. Something I hadn't thought I would ever allow. But the moment his fingers brushed mine, something inside me shifted, and once it did, I knew there was no undoing it. My name is Claire. I'm 46. I've been married to Martin for more than 2 decades. We have 2 kids who still fill the house with their voices, a mortgage that seems endless, and a routine that has dulled into repetition. We don't fight anymore. We don't really laugh either. We've simply become a system of habits, eating, working, sleeping, an existence that once ran on love but now moves on autopilot. Martin comes home. I make dinner. We watch the news. He takes his pills, falls asleep. I clear the dishes. We repeat. I'd convinced myself this was enough, that needing more was selfish. I stopped asking to be noticed. I stopped waiting to feel wanted. That part of me had gone quiet, almost like it had died. Until Daniel. Daniel is 31. He's the son of my closest friend, Leah. He grew up in our backyard, running through sprinklers, joining cookouts, sprawling on beanbags for family movie nights. He used to call me Mrs. Claire, his voice still carrying the high notes of adolescence. I can still remember his graduation day, how he hugged me longer than most boys his age might have. At the time, I thought nothing of it. But somewhere between college and adulthood, he changed. Taller, broader, quieter. The same gentle presence he'd always carried, but with a weight now. And I started noticing him too. The way his eyes lingered when I looked tired. The way he'd notice when I wore something new, when Martin hadn't looked twice in years. The way his voice softened when he spoke to me. That night, Martin had gone upstairs early, exhausted from his medication. Daniel stayed behind after dinner to finish a film. He liked the old ones, said they made him feel grounded. I sat beside him, just like I had so many times before. But it wasn't the same. The air in the room was different, thicker, charged. His knee nudged mine lightly. I didn't pull away. I barely noticed the movie. All I could feel was that warmth beside me. Then came the shift of his hand. Barely there. His fingers brushed my thigh, so softly I almost convinced myself I'd imagined it. My body tightened. My gaze stayed fixed on the screen, though I couldn't have described a single scene. He didn't move away. Neither did I. It wasn't bold. It wasn't fast. His pinky curled slightly, resting against my skin. Then his palm opened, upward, as if waiting. I clutched the blanket in my lap, heart racing. I knew I should break the moment, but I didn't. "You okay?" he whispered, low, careful. I nodded, barely breathing. That was all he needed. His hand settled more firmly on my leg, not forceful, not demanding, just there. My skin burned beneath his touch. My lips parted, but no words came. Then his thumb traced a slow line across the curve of my thigh. I gasped, so quiet it was almost nothing, my knees pressing together, fighting the instinct to lean into him. Still, I didn't tell him to stop. When his hand edged higher, I shifted slightly, parting my legs just a fraction. I hated how natural it felt, how much I wanted it. For years I had convinced myself that love and affection had simply run their course, that I no longer needed them. But in that moment, Daniel was proof that silence wasn't comfort, it was emptiness. And I had been starving. We didn't kiss right away. We didn't even meet eyes. He watched the screen. I watched him. His fingers slid just beneath the hem of my shorts, sending a shock through me. I forgot how to breathe. "I'll stop if you want me to," he murmured. I couldn't speak. Because I didn't want him to stop. He touched me like I was something fragile but remembered, like he'd thought about this for years but never dared to push. When I finally turned my face toward him, I kissed him, slow but steady. His lips against mine felt like surfacing after years underwater. For the first time in so long, I felt alive. We folded into each other, the movie forgotten. His hand slid beneath the fabric of my shirt, warm and certain, mapping skin that hadn't been touched like that in years. I thought of stopping him, of the lines we were crossing, but every time I tried to gather reason, he touched me in a way that erased it all. He wasn't rough. He wasn't rushed. He was deliberate, reverent, and that undid me more than anything. A sound creaked in the hallway, pulling us back. Maybe a pipe, maybe the house itself. Daniel pulled away slightly, forehead pressed to mine. "We shouldn't be doing this," he whispered. "I know," I breathed. But I kissed him again anyway. Because by then it was already too late. By the time the credits rolled, we were tangled together, the room heavy with silence. His shirt was rumpled, his lips flushed, his eyes searching mine. "What now?" I asked. He didn't answer. The next morning, I stood in the kitchen, coffee cooling untouched in my hands. I heard the bathroom door creak open upstairs. Daniel came down, filled a glass of water, and slipped past me. I didn't look at him, but the air between us was thick with everything we weren't saying. Days later, we crossed paths in the laundry room. Our hands brushed over the basket, both of us freezing at the contact. "I can't stop thinking about it," he said quietly. "Me neither," I admitted. But we both knew, we couldn't let it happen again. Except that night hadn't quenched anything. It had only ignited more. I started avoiding the living room after dark. I locked my bedroom door, not to keep him out but to stop myself from giving in again. But in my mind, I still felt him. His hand on my thigh. His voice at my ear. That look that told me I wasn't invisible. A few evenings later, we found ourselves sitting on the back steps at dusk, the sky painted in fading orange and gold. He sat at one end of the step, not close, not far. "You've been quiet," he said. "I've been thinking." "Me too." I finally looked at him, the weight of everything hanging between us. "I should have stopped it," I whispered. "But you didn't," he replied. "And I didn't stop you." We sat in silence, the kind heavier than words could ever be. When he finally stood and walked into the fading light, I didn't say goodbye. I just watched him go until he disappeared.